In the very last verse of Psalm 18, David says this. He says, He, God, He gives His king great victories. He shows unfailing kindness to His anointed. And there's a word that jumped out at me there. It's the word His. His king. That David wasn't just a king, and David wasn't just David's king or Israel's king. He was God's king. In other words, God had a role in placing him there. God wanted him in that position. God placed him in that position. And God did not place him in that position in order that David would eventually fail in that position. He is the one who was responsible for leading David to great victories. And he promised him that he was going to show him unfailing kindness. He was not going to fail to be kind to David in the position that God had entrusted to him. Well, good for David, right? No. Well, yes. But good for us. Good for you too, because this is the same, the Bible talks the same way about all the positions that you hold in your life. Whatever role, your vocations, some people use the word vocations, your roles. If you're a parent, if you're a child, if you're a student, if you're an employee, if you're a citizen of a country, if you are a neighbor to somebody in any type of community, if you are any of those things, you're not just those things all by yourself, on your own. It didn't happen accidentally. God had some type of role in putting you in that position. God is active there, and He wants you to be in that role. And also, God has no intention of having you fail in that role, which is good news. Because we can get to the end of a lot of days and feel like we have. Pick any role that you have. You might think about your job. You might think about a relationship. Family relationship, friend relationship, a marriage, relationship with your children, relationship with your parents. You might think about your neighbors. Any role that you currently have in your life. You can get to the end of the day and feel like you have failed. And if that's the case, then looking forward to the next day, it often becomes easier to believe that you're going to fail again. And if you have a number of days like that in a row, where you have failed, where you can point out things that you haven't done as well as you should, where your best effort hasn't brought the best results, or days when you haven't even brought your best effort and you knew it, and somebody else ended up getting hurt. You can get very easily discouraged and think, why should I even try? Why should I even keep trying? And then if there's somebody else who's making it difficult, like maybe you're doing your job, you're fulfilling your end of the bargain, but they didn't. And they didn't a couple of times. And it discourages you. God gives us a way to move forward by reminding us that the victories, as David talks about them, the outcomes, it depends far more on God being faithful and kind to us than it does on any of us. God knows you are in the position that you are in. God knows you are in the relationships that you are in. God knows what goes on in everybody's heart in all those relationships. He knows what goes on in your heart. He knows. Which is why He promises that He is not going to fail to be kind to you. And in what particular ways? He'll give you strength when you're weak. He'll give you forgiveness when you sin. He'll give you compassion when you're tired. Overall, He will give you exactly what He gave when He sent Jesus, when He did not fail to send Jesus. He'll always give you grace so that you can continue to be on your way toward your wins. And what does that mean? What does that look like? Just remember that wins in God's kingdom here on earth don't always look or feel like the wins that we will enjoy in eternity. The ones in eternity are coming. But the wins here on earth often look like a cross. They often feel like a cross, or they feel like nails being pounded into your flesh. That was a win for us because God was being faithful in being kind to all of us in all the categories of our lives, wanting us to know that He will be faithful even when it hurts, even when it's hard. He'll be faithful for you. So keep going. You belong to God. God knows the role He has placed you in. And He has placed you in that role for a particular reason. because we have enemies over which God wants us to win. Satan, a sinful world, and even our own sinful hearts. They're all working hard against us. But because God is faithful, none of them are going to win. You are. Rest well tonight, my friends.